Recording in progress. Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Шановні учасники, семінар почнеться рівно о 2:00 годині. Будь ласка, виключіть ваші мікрофони. Дякуємо.
Dear participants, the event will start at 2:00 p.m. sharp, so please make sure your mics are off at all times unless you're talking.
So, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and a warm welcome to this event organized by the European Training Foundation in partnership with the European Commission and with the Ministry of Education and Science and the Ministry of Digital Transition of Ukraine. My name is Alessandro Brolpito. I am a senior human capital development expert with a focus on digital education. And I was responsible of this Selfie project in ETF. Today, the outcomes of the Selfie project in Ukraine will be presented with several and notable interventions addressed by ETF, the European Commission, and from the Ministry of Education and Science and the Ministry of Digital Transition, with the active involvement of piloting schools and of the regional authorities actively involved in the process. So today we have an ambitious agenda and three main objectives. The first one, of course, is to inform on the progress of the Selfie project, not only in Ukraine, but I would say in Europe. This is indeed an international project. And the second objective is to discuss key findings from the Selfie pilot in Ukraine. And here, of course, we would like really to engage all of you. The third objective is to discuss the further implementation, what next with the Selfie in Ukraine. The event is delivered in English and in Ukraine. And please be informed that you can select the language from the control panel. So we invite all of you, of course, to participate actively, addressing your quest either in English or in Ukraine using the chat. But now, with no hesitation, I pass the floor to the chair of this event, my colleague Galina Terzi. So, Galina, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alessandro. Thank you very much for your warm welcoming remarks and opening our today's event. So I want to welcome everybody here and all the participants who have joined us today at this event on Zoom, as well as those who are watching our webcast online from all over Ukraine. We're going to start our journey right now, which is called Selfie Project Implementation in Ukraine. My name is Galina Terzi. I have an honor to represent and moderate this event today on behalf of the European Training Foundation. I would like to once again repeat that the organization of this awareness-raising seminar has been set by the European Training Foundation and the Ministry of Education and Science of Ukraine. We also engaged the Digital Transformation Ministry with the participation as well of the European Commission. So before we start, I would like to first of all show you some of the technical details and instruct you on how to use Zoom. So let us look at this slide here that you can see on your screens. You can select the language of your preference by pressing the globe sign. We would encourage you to please switch off your microphones because the meeting is recorded. We are also webcasting this event online. If you wish to, you can either keep your cameras on or off. It's all at your disposal. And please actively use our chat. We have the moderators. They will be keeping track of your questions. They will be sharing the links with you that we will have to be using during the event. So please, we have prepared a very busy and a very interesting program for you. So please, let us begin now. And please let us keep up with the timeline that we have provided you with in the agenda. Let us start with something extraordinary. This is not a usual introduction. This is the feedback that we received from one of the pilot schools, which has been one of the first ones to test this Selfie innovative product. And they have shared their impressions with the feedback from the school principals, the teachers, the faculty, I mean, and the students. So let us watch this vlog.
Цей влог буде записано і показано
This video blog will be displayed and fed in the Ukrainian language. So our colleagues from the European Commission, you'll be hearing the English interpretation.
For international participants, the translation will be available in your channel.
Sono andata lì in pallone, c'ho il vlog o c'ho il video?
The use of Selfie tool by schools is the first and foremost step in their preparation to their digital transformation strategies. The online surveys conducted by the school principals, faculty, and students have shown to us a lot of surprise and encouragement regarding the use of the selfie instrument. So we will be able to use the tool in our learning and teaching process. The online project has given us a lot of opportunities to do an independent expert assessment. We managed to dive into the teaching and learning practices with the use of online tools in the learning process through the use of technological and innovative solutions. The Selfie tool is a very handy tool for the teachers. First of all, it helps self-analyze, master new subjects, and also for the future, it helps coordinate and develop plans for interaction with the vet schools and other institutions towards digital transformation. Because of the online questionnaires, we have been able to see the plans the faculty has and the parents have for their children's learning. Already now, I can say the digital transformation tool, which Selfie is about comprehensive analysis, identifying strengths and weaknesses in the learning process. This enables us to verify our school's readiness for digital transformation. Thanks to this Selfie project, we helped others to look at the learning process with different eyes. Selfie is about innovations. This is about new attitudes. This is about smiles. We're gonna continue with Selfie. Thanks to Selfie, our team has become even stronger. We have set ourselves the goal, and we will have those performed. There you go. The sound was a little bit poor, but we will definitely release this vlog on our website where we're going to have presentations from the event, and you'll be able to once again watch the video and all the deliverables. But I just wanted to show you so much enthusiasm and energy that the students were telling about Selfie. They had a lot of inspiration, and that really shows how great Selfie is, and it is built exactly to encourage students to be much more active in the process of change. And these are the students who will enjoy this active role in this process. So thanks very much, and thanks very much to Zaporizhia School number 176. Thank you very much for the inspiration that you kindly shared with us. And right now, I would like to ask you, dear participants, and what kind of inspiration do you have? What are you up to regarding Selfie today? So please, here on the chat, you will receive a link where you can answer some of those questions to respond to what kind of inspiration you're ready to share with us. We're going to have 30 seconds, and after the 30 seconds, we're going to be able to see your answers.
We are actually observing already the results, so it's a really a live exercise.
Так, звичайно, це інтерактивно. Дякую, Алесандро.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Alessandro. This is a really interactive tool, so please be very active. Click the link and then choose the option that you prefer most, and let us know, what do you feel about Selfie? Okay, great. We can see the growing number of people who have very much enthusiasm and inspiration about it. Thank you ever so much for taking the active part here and letting us know how much you are inspired to be working today and learn more about Selfie, learn more about the pilot project findings, as well as the Selfie integration in the Ukraine's education in the future. So I can see virtually all the participants have given their positive feedback. I can see the people's energy and inspiration to participate in the meeting. So I thank you very much indeed. And exactly to support this positive tune, we have prepared a very interesting agenda for you. We have invited the state-of-the-art authors and experts to Selfie, experts who have been working on the Selfie implementation in Ukraine. So let us move through the agenda. We're going to have 4 sessions. In the first session, you're going to know about Selfie in Europe. In the second one, we're going to talk more about the pilot project in Ukraine. We're going to discuss the findings. We will hear about recommendations and some analysis. We will also learn about the further implementation of Selfie in the Ukraine's education agenda. Session 3 will be more interactive, so we're going to be participating and we're going to be split into 4 moderated groups. Those are the breakout rooms, and you're going to be divided in accordance with the schools you represent. And also we're going to be having the plenary. In the plenary, we're going to have the panel discussion with both English and Ukrainian languages available. Those will be representatives from the regions, regional state administrations, local self-government authorities, as well as the Ministry of Education and Science and the Ministry of Digital Transformation. And in the fourth part, even though it is a closing one, it is nevertheless very important because we're going to be making conclusions and we will discuss the further plans and steps forward in our work altogether. So I have an honor to give the floor for the welcoming remarks to Arthur Zelensky, Deputy Minister of Education and Science of Ukraine. And I'd like to say that this pilot project's success in Selfie implementation should boast the direct support and the key role that Mr. Arthur has kindly shared with us on behalf of the Ministry of Science and Education. So please, Arthur, the floor is yours. Just a second. Deputy Minister is getting connected. Thank you. So I would like to tell you a bit about what we should look at in the first phase of the pilot project implementation. And the team of local experts was comprised by the representatives of the Ministry of Education and Science and the Ministry of Digital Transformation. I'm going to be repeating that again and again because it is important to stress it. And in the next step towards Selfie integration in the Ukrainian learning environment, it is going to engage the key regions and their representatives. That's why this event is exactly for us to tell this story, to share some details about Selfie, to demonstrate how this tool has been used by the EU member states and how Ukraine is going to pursue it, what kind of support we have been enjoying in order to have this process properly implemented in here. So let us see if Deputy Minister is with us already. Yes, good afternoon, I'm here. Hi, the floor is yours now. Of course, I'm so glad that finally it happened. And for this, exactly, I'm taking part in today's event just to cut the ribbon, and kickstart the Selfie project in Ukraine. I'm so much grateful to the ETF and the European Commission and EU for Skills program for the possibility to implement the project. And of course, many thanks to our Ukrainian partners, the Ministry of Digital Transformation, and also the Ministry of Education. Thank you very much for aligning the Selfie project to the needs of the Ukrainian educational establishment. Our ministry has been working on digital transformation in education. Our nearest plan is to implement digital transformation steps at schools. We want to improve the high-speed internet access, digitize many educational processes, and enhance the level of digital competencies. Selfie is a modern tool to assess the efficiency of digital transformation at schools. And we do have a hope that with the Selfie's support, we will be able to enhance the efficiency in implementing our plans. Through the continuous work with students remotely, the attitude of both the faculty and the students has changed due to the pandemic. We no longer can work like we did before, so we have to set ourselves for the new format. All that is impossible without the quality format. Thanks to the support of our partners, we now have the Selfie tool, which will help schools self-analyze. During the self-analysis, the survey participants have been offered many questions. Both anonymously and voluntarily, they could answer those questions with the engagement of both the principals, faculty, and students. The survey is purely anonymous and it's voluntary. Even the primary school children, since 9 years old, have coped with it. As a result, the schools have received the interactive report, and therefore they can use it for their strategic plan to digitize their schools. The educational establishment can also analyze their current digital status and the progress they can achieve in the future. At this point, we have started the Selfie implementation in Ukraine. So we were selecting schools from Lviv, Zaporizhia, as well as professional education institution and in-service training institutions. So we also incorporated or encouraged the participation of that methodological centers. And in all the regions, and including the city of Kiev, many institutions have taken part in it. The many could actually align their needs with the project. So today we have finalized piloting of the project in 96 different educational institutions. The first findings have shown that the survey was participated by more than 20,000 participants, out of whom 17,000 are students and the remainder are faculty, and also the school leaders. We at the ministry have big expectations about Selfie. We really need to see the current status reports regarding digital transformation and digital implementation solutions at schools. Also, this includes the hardware and software provision. We've been also actively supported at the regional level from the regional departments of education. This will help us do much better strategic planning in the future at the school level, at the institutional level. And this will contribute greatly to the further and subsequent implementation of the plan. Thank you very much for the pilot project implementation. I want to wish you very fruitful work in the future and great results to come that will be publicly appreciated all in Ukraine. With a faith in the future, with great optimism, I believe that each and every person will continue to support this project, and this will improve our schools for the years to come. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you so much, Deputy Minister. Very encouraging and inspiring intervention from yours. It really inspires us even to do more. And I would like to really support what you have said about the key priority in the Ukraine's digital agenda, the role of Selfie and the importance of engaging regions to this integration process, to integrate the Selfie instrument. So we are opening the first part of our today's agenda, and this is my honor to introduce our speakers. This is a unique opportunity indeed to hear about Selfie from the first-hand experience, because we have really invited the top experts and authors of this tool. So from the European Commission, I'm gonna give the floor to Naira Carrera Martinez from DG EAC.
Thank you.
And in her presentation, we will learn more about the European Digital Transformation Plan for Education, what's happening already, what are the plans that other member states have so far. And the presentation will be continued by Nicoletta Giannuzzo, Selfie Project Manager, a scientific officer from the Joint Research Center at the European Commission. I would like to emphasize now that the Joint Research Center has developed the guidelines for Selfie and supported it methodologically. So obviously you know, and you've heard that probably the new Ukrainian school has been using and taking advantage of the frameworks and the methodology developed by the GRC. This has to do with developing skills at schools, for teachers, for the faculty, I mean, and for the students, and for the society as a whole. And the last presentation, but not least one, will be made by Alessandro Bolpito, Senior Specialist on Digital Skills and Learning from ETF. I'd like to mention here that the European Training Foundation is a European Union's body that supports Ukraine under the auspices of the EU external dimension. And of course, we're going to have an opportunity to listen to the colleague of ours from DG DG NEAR. So please, Maria, the floor is yours.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Alessandro, please note if this is the case. Okay.
Yes, yes, perfectly well.
Great, great. So good afternoon, everyone. Привет всем, приємно бути тут. I'm going to switch to English now because I'm sure my Ukrainian is quite bad. So it's a pleasure to be here. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for the invitation to be here today with us to talk a bit about digital education and, of course, about the importance of Selfie. So as you all know, you're here because you probably heard or participated in Selfie, and the COVID-19 pandemic, it's been probably the greatest challenge for education and training systems in the last decades, as it was actually the first experience of distance and online learning for many educators and learners like you, like everybody, right? So many institutions managed to adapt very fast, extremely swiftly to this situation. This is the case, for instance, of the Joint Research Center, which reinforced their efforts to actually, towards this direction, to actually include 21 questions about remote teaching and learning in the Selfie questionnaire, which were great. And which I think actually they were very useful to understand the challenges the school community were facing at the time. However, the crisis has also been a great opportunity for all of us to reset education and training for the digital age. The need for a new digital education action plan was expressed already in the political guidance of European Commissioner President Ursula von der Leyen in July 2019. And as you probably know, and if you don't, I'll tell you now, we didn't start from scratch. So we had already the first Digital Education Action Plan 2018-2021, which was the first coordinated effort in the field of digital education at European level. By the time it had 11 actions over 3 priorities, including Selfie. So here's where we include Selfie. And the 18 action plan reached actually more than 37 million people globally, which I think it's really great. It's really great number. Now we have a new action plan starting from last year, the one that you're seeing on the screen, and this is based on extensive stakeholder consultation where we received more than 2,700 replies from different stakeholders in 60 countries. So as you see on the screen, the action plan has 2 main priorities, which is on the one hand, developing high-performing digital education ecosystem, tackling the overall low level of digital capacity in Europe. And then on the other hand, the second priority is to enhance digital skills and competencies for the digital transformation. Of course, together with these priorities, we also want to look for stronger cooperation and coordination at European level. And this is why we envisage the creation of a European Digital Education Hub. We can firmly say now that teachers and educators are key players in the action plan, and that they need to be supported, you need to be supported on a practical, pedagogical, and technical level in their acquisition of the necessary digital competences. So some of these actions that I just want to quickly mention, the most relevant for teachers and educators in this respect are the following. I don't know if we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So we have the Erasmus Teacher Academies aiming to support digital pedagogy and expertise in the use of digital tools for teachers. We also have the Erasmus cooperation projects to support the digital transformation plans or the digital opportunity traineeship, which we also think it's a great opportunity to give higher education students, the opportunity to actually learn hands-on professional experience in the digital fields that we actually know that are currently demanded in the labor market. Last but not least, we also have the development of free online self-assessment tools, Selfie for teachers, and probably you also know about this, which aims to help teachers to identify strengths and weaknesses in their digital, technical, and teaching skills. Selfie for teachers builds on the success of Selfie. I won't speak about Selfie because I know most of you are probably familiar with this. But just to what I really want to mention and to highlight here very briefly, if we can go to the next slide, please, is their impact and the numbers that we have achieved since 2018. As you can see in the screen, more than 1,700,000 people has participated in Selfie in 77 countries. So I think this is a really great number, really big number, and I think this is only possible thanks to teachers like you who are very committed and very hardworking and try to use Selfie, even though it's not easy at the beginning. So I really want to encourage you to keep using Selfie or to start using Selfie if you have never tried before. And with this, I give the floor to Nicoleta. Thank you so much. Veliko spasibo.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, let me thank you as well for the invitation to this event. It's really exciting to see the big journey that Ukraine has made with Selfie. We were here when there was the kickoff. The collaboration we had with the European Training Foundation, DGAC, and the ministry and the experts who worked with the schools in Ukraine. I think it was an excellent example, and the results demonstrate this. And I think we will have the opportunity to discover this later on in this event. Following Nair's presentation, I would like to present very briefly what is the current state of play of the use of Selfie in the European Union. What we have seen is that since last year, there's a raised interest from the ministries of education to scale up Selfie in their countries. And this interest was demonstrated last year when we had 1 million users. Selfie was launched in 2018. As Nair showed earlier, we have 1.7 million users, and the 1 million people used Selfie only last year. And I think this is quite interesting because it's connected to what happened and the challenges the schools had to face due to the recent public health crisis. And they found in Selfie an instrument that could help them to think strategically what technologies they should be using, take into account the special profile of each school. And I think this is a challenge for all policymakers as well, because one size fits all policy is very difficult to be effective. So Selfie was an opportunity for schools to express their opinion and be part of the discussion about the use of technologies. One great example, and this is where we owe the large numbers along with the pilot in Ukraine, was Portugal, which last year sort of proposed to the schools to use Selfie on a voluntary basis. This was not something the schools were obliged to do, but 97% of the schools decided to use Selfie. interesting thing was, and probably we'll have the opportunity to discuss this further, was that Portugal did not just introduce Selfie to the schools. They had a series of teacher training centers, which supported schools not only in the process of responding to the questions, but, and this was something that happened also in Ukraine in a different way, but supporting the schools to develop their action plans. Recently, we have expressed interest from Slovakia, who is interested in using Selfie to support the digital development of schools. Again, what I would like to highlight here is the measures they are taking, because using Selfie, and probably the schools who participated in the exercise, they know that it is challenging, not just in terms of organizing and coordinating the exercise at the level of the schools, but doing the most critical step, which is to develop an action plan. And now we're in the phase of implementing this action plan. So again, in Slovakia, they plan this year to propose to their schools to use Selfie. I think they have a pilot which will range from 200 to 400 schools. And again, what they did, they established by law to introduce the role of digital technologies coordinator in the school, who will devote its work on developing the digital strategy and the implementation of digital technology in the school. So it seems that there is a shift in the thinking that Selfie, in order to be effectively implemented, needs to be accompanied by certain actions which need to be taken at the level of the ministry. And finally, Spain is recommending Selfie to its school as well. And again, I would like to stress the measures they are taking to support this process. So they are allocating personnel at the ministry level, national and regional authorities, and at the same time, they are allocating time to teachers at the schools. I think it's 2 hours per week, to support the digital development of the school. So I think these are the key highlights I would like to put on the table now with respect to the state of play of the use of Selfie in Europe. And I think we will have the opportunity to discuss this more in the coming sessions. And at this point, I would like to give the floor to Alessandro. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Naira, and thank you, Nicoletta, for your intervention, giving the real dimension of Selfie internationally. But now, going back to Europe and the progress of Selfie in Europe, I would say, I would like just to highlight that Selfie is in Eastern Europe an initiative that has been supported by ETF, in partnership always with the Commission in other countries, as you can see. But let me say that the Selfie project in Ukraine, I think, is one of the most relevant and advanced examples of implementing Selfie, as Nicoletta was mentioning, in terms of sites, methodology applied, and the result achieved. Firstly, the sites. We managed to involve 90 schools, vocational and general schools. We are talking about more than 20,000 users. I'm talking about school leaders, teachers, and students. Last but not least, the students were great in the video, I think. And this is really impressive, I would say. But it's also about the engagement of the institutions at all levels, at the ministerial level and system level, therefore, but at regional level. That was very, very important. In terms of methodology, I would say, as far as I know, the first time we were running an hackathon, really to put into actions, because it's not just a matter to run a questionnaire. What next? And here we managed, we made it in a very structured way through an hackathon. And in the report that has been distributed within the invitation, you have basically a good description of all the steps. Next slide, please. So now we say this is a success story, the Selfie in Ukraine. And I would like to give you some key factors that I think we have to keep in mind, looking ahead also on how to proceed. So as I mentioned, was the engagement and the support provided by the two ministries involved in the digitalization process, that it's also affecting education, as Nair was mentioning. It's a challenge for all of us. And the setup of the Selfie national team and the coordination and support provided at regional level. I mean, we took into account the ongoing reform in the country. There is a decentralization with a bigger role of regional or the regional dimension, including the VET methodological centers. So we wanted to engage them in this process and in cascade to the Selfie school coordinators that in many schools managed to engage school leaders, teachers, and students. So the regional authorities, I think, were really playing a key operational role in this respect. And I would also stress the methodology that has been used. When we talk about a system-wide piloting, of course, it's important to have a methodology to follow that has been developed with the European Commission and based on a key action. This is what you can see at the bottom of the slide. And here we were really going through from the very first the positioning Selfie into the education system, existing one, taking into account the existing reforms, moving until the very end. So how Selfie could be annually review cycle. When is the best time to run it? Of course, as the deputy minister was mentioning, it remained fully anonymous for school. It remained on voluntary basis, but all schools now, I mean, COVID was a really disruptive element in education. And now the attitude, as also my colleagues was mentioning, is completely changed. So we want tools, we want to understand, we want to improve. And so, I mean, even a system level to have a methodology to really supporting the whole process is very important. In my last slide, so next one, please. I would like to really, let's say, highlight that the Selfie project has been, I think, provided a tool for school self-assessment and for further strategic planning of the use of digital technology in education processes at school and system level. This is really something that, as far as I know, was missing. We lack evidence, data in the Ukrainian system. So this could be a valid source of information. We have to distinguish some questions that are more meaningful from a scientific point of view, other are more personal opinion, but there are many important information. But now, let me say what you can find in the report that we have distributed. Well, we will see how the process has been followed at all levels, mainly at system, regional, and school level. We try to position Selfie in the national and regional context. These are Ukrainian is making really very ambitious initiative and reforms. Selfie and the other EU tools could be instrumental, can be tailored. A school can decide what question to add, or the minister can suggest to have a common additional question. So we define a process. I think what we have done in the pilot is very strong and could be used for the upscaling. In the report with Tatiana, the Selfie national expert, we managed to identify challenges and enablers, and we put a set of recommendations for upscaling. I'm talking about the school year, the academic year that just started already. We should not lose the momentum. Of course, we are aware, as I said, of challenges. For example, I would say, and then I close my intervention, we might see how to reinforce the support at the regional level, because in the new reform, regional authorities play a key role, but this is something that we have to understand and build together. This Selfie is a big community. It's a community of educators. So the idea really is to gather knowledge, experience from all the countries involved. So Galina, I have to stop now. I hope we will have opportunity to further discuss in the panel. So I would pass the floor over to you. And thank you for your attention.
Дякую, Алessandro.
Thank you ever so much, Alessandro. Thank you very much, Nair, and thank you very much, Nicoletta. It is indeed a very good opportunity to make a conclusion that Selfie has a strong potential in Ukraine, not only for the self-assessment and self-reflection at schools by the school leaders, students, and teachers, but this is also a good thing to use for the development of strategies, vision for the reform in education with regards to digital transformation and taking advantage of digital technologies in the learning process. I have seen some of the questions already in the chat. If I can just voice one of them was to Alessandro. So please, what should one do in order to continue the successful implementation of Selfie in Ukraine? What do you think is the most important ingredient in that?
I think we have to build from what we have done in the pilot, engaging all the three main levels of educators, because the Selfie school coordinator is play a key role, has to mobilize, engage all the school community. But then the regional authority has to really coordinate and perhaps look at the action plans that the schools provided and take a summary. Where do I put my resources? Okay, what I should prioritize. And the system level, of course, through anonymized aggregate data could benefit of this evidence for making proper decision. We need evidence. We are living in a data age where basically we need, the human has to make the decision, of course, but we need some evidence. And this can be really important for. So if I could say in one word, in one sentence, what we need is to develop an action plan based on the processes applied and successfully in the pilot at the two main levels, system and school, involving all the key players. Be realistic, however. This is my suggestion. Do an incremental. We started with 2 regions for general education, if I remember correct, 10 region or 12 region for that. I mean, we need to go step by step. We need to have a clear vision, and then to move progressively. Okay, that's. I want to be short. Over to you, Galina.
Дякую, Алесандро. Дякую за цю відповідь. У нас
Thank you
буде
very much, Alessandro. Thank you for the answer. We're going to have an opportunity to continue the discussion interactively. So allow me to move to the second part of our today's agenda, and let us take a look closely at some of those specific features of the Selfie pilot project implementation. And it is my pleasure to invite Tatiana Nanaeva, Selfie national expert in Ukraine. I would like to actually mention Tatiana, together with Katerina Wibrik, who is the national coordinator of Selfie in Ukraine. They together have managed to coordinate this entire work together. They've been coordinating this work with schools, the ministries, and with the European Training Foundation. So we would like to express words of gratitude for everything you've done. You have the floor. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for this very high appreciation of our pilot project implementation. Thank you for calling it a success story. This is great. I have a question to the organizers. Our representatives from the ministry should have spoken now. Could we give them the floor first, and then I'm going to grab the floor and speak later, because they are limited in time? Yes, naturally, of course. Allow me to introduce to you Valerie Yonan. She's the Deputy Minister for Digital Transformation from the Digital Transformation Ministry. And also let us invite Dmytro Zagorodny, Director General of the Directorate of Digital Transformation in Education. Just a couple of words. Valeria is deemed to be an official inspirer of Selfie in Ukraine. This is your official status already. And with Mr. Dmytro, we would like to thank you so much for the restless support that you've been sharing with us on behalf of the Digital Transformation and Ministry of Education as well. So thank you for joining our today's event. Thanks very much, Galina, for these very warm, welcoming remarks. In my turn, I would like to emphasize once again that we are so much grateful, and I'm sure this project would never happen without Tatiana Nanaeva, without Katerina. So on behalf of the Digital Transformation Ministry, and I think I'll be supported by the Education Ministry as well, we're so much grateful to our colleagues, and especially to Tatiana for her great support. Actually, digital transformation at schools is one of the strategic priorities for our ministry. We've been comprehensively pursuing this issue. We've had the internet subvention where we cover the installation of high-speed internet in remote villages and areas. On the digital transformation website, we have the internet literacy test for the teachers, and more than 82,000 teachers have already completed the test. We've also launched a lot of digital literacy videos for teachers from the digital skills and regarding using digital services. Altogether, more than 100,000 teachers have seen those videos. Together with the Ministry of Education, we have launched an initiative called A Laptop for Every Teacher. So 60,000 teachers are getting their laptops. And right now we're looking for financial opportunities to continue the initiative in the next year. Together with the Ministry of Education, Osvitoria and Neuro, we launched the All-Ukrainian Online School, which is now enjoyed by more than 200,000 teachers and students. The issue that everybody is worried about is how to make sure this educational process to never stop, but to always continue. This is always a question during the lockdown. This is a question which you can hear more and more because of the coronavirus third wave. Ukraine moves into the yellow zone now. So organizing this distant learning and online learning becomes a priority for all the schools in Ukraine. Selfie as the online tool can contribute greatly to that. It will help prioritize what we should pay attention to. The speed of the internet, other hardwares, technical equipment for teachers and students, digital literacy, or maybe something else. Thanks to Selfie, the schools will learn what their strengths and weaknesses are in using digital technology, what are forms and ways to deliver digital training to the teachers and the students, how we should prioritize and choose the most important things to jump in. The use of Selfie has been enjoyed by Selfie pilot project participants who were the first ones to have used it. 96 schools in 10 different regions. They've done the anonymous survey and received interactive digital status. Since today, Selfie becomes available for all the schools without exclusion. Here at the Digital Transformation Ministry, we're going to be doing everything possible to contribute and support Selfie implementation all across different schools through the CETOs. Those are deputy heads of regional state administrations responsible for digital transformation. This institutional support needs to become a reliable foundation for them to be supported and to always feel our support. We hope that Selfie will help each and every school to raise their standards, their teaching and learning quality, and this will give an impetus to even grow the school's capacities to respond to the new challenges and manage their advancement. I'm sure this is a great opportunity to take advantage of Selfie. Thank you for opening this opportunity virtually for all the Ukrainian schools. Thanks to everybody who've been here with us. And we at the ministry will be, of course, a supporting shoulder to you and a helpful hand. Thank you. Thank you very much, Valeria. Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. My name is Dmitro Zavgorodny. I work at the Ministry of Education and Science. I'm the Director General for Digital Transformation. I would like to, first of all, tell you about our ministry's priorities. And you'll be able to know how much synergy there is between the priorities, what we share, and the priorities of the Digital Transformation Ministry that you've just heard about. All in all, the digital transformation priorities can be split into two parts. Those are the areas that have to do with the institutional basis and those that have to do with process management in the system level. So first of all, it has to do with schools themselves. This is about their infrastructures, their equipment, technical supplies, laptops, everything. This is access to internet and access to the internet inside the schools. And the third one, this is electronic or digital content. Just as an example, like Valeria just mentioned, we have DIA, digital education, this all Ukrainian school, and many, many other accessible tools in Ukraine for all the schools virtually. Another area which has to do with digital transformation, this is enhancing digital literacy in teachers and faculty in general, and not only the faculty, but all the participants in education. The second one in there is the digital content of high quality and access for all. All that is done to raise the quality and efficiency of the education process. Some other priorities for the ministry at the national level. We need to reduce red tape and bureaucracy through digital transformation. We want to reduce paper-based documents in the documentation, and we want to facilitate all the services that the ministry can deliver online, like licensing, etc. So how do we want to pursue that, and how Selfie can contribute? To me, this is a very important part in this general digital transformation ecosystem. Like it was previously said, this is one of the helpful hands and tools. This tool can give an opportunity to a school principal or any other leader to understand the current status of his or her school, and then therefore build the strategy and tactics for its development. From what we can see in the global report, undoubtedly there are leaders that have managed to actually appreciate all the criteria, while some of the other still create the room for improvement. From what I have seen, is that the processes are evidence-based and they are based on the relevant data. So one knows what to improve because there is background information data. This is the tool that is going to help not only collect the data, but also improve the processes on the evidence basis. To me, it is very important, like for any managers, to do these regular surveys to get the data and therefore understand what can be improved, where should all the efforts and resources be focused. And then this information can go upstairs to the higher leadership to demonstrate, first of all, some of the progress made already, and some of the things that will require more intervention that this immediate manager cannot solve by him or herself. And therefore, the results of these surveys are very important. There are two very important points that I would like to raise on my behalf. First of all, from the report, we've seen that very few pilot schools have taken advantage of adding their own questions to the questionnaire. And to me, this is one of the greatest options and advantages this tool provides, because there are a lot of questions that are given away right there, but those tailor-made questions that the school leadership would be interested in could be the most important ingredient that could actually help a lot, and this tool could be much more helpful therefore. So I want to wish all the participants of this process to think about your own questions to be added, and I think when you start thinking about those questions and trying to look for solutions, this is going to be a very efficient part of your managerial process. And this will help you build your strategy for the future. So ask questions and evolve therefore. The second part that I'd like to mention, these are some concerns that I have. I can see, and that's actually the advantage Selfie provides, we cannot see any disaggregated data at the top level. So I haven't seen any data from the people who participated in the survey. That is important, that the information is, so to say, blind. We decided to actually build a system the way that those schools would not perceive this system as reporting. which they have used to before. When you just sit and do it, follow the rules, report on time. When you deliver a bad report, it's bad. So make sure you're doing something good and report it. Very often this happens in many post-Soviet countries. But the advantage of this tool actually is that it's not a report. It's not checking the box. It's a relevant tool to see your advantages and disadvantages, your strengths and weaknesses, and then you know what to work for and what to change. So this information should become a real guidance for the leadership at school, for the ministry, and that's a very handy tool for the school itself. I believe it should raise the motivation for the people and will influence positively to building up and upscaling in the future. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Dmitro. Thanks a lot, Tatiana. Passing the floor back to you. All right, because we have little time before the break, I would like to draw your attention to the most important thing. Just for us to understand much better what kind of pilot project findings we have seen and what the recommendations would be. Let us move very quickly into my presentation. But I would like to draw your attention to one fact. Apart from the report that you have received with the invitation, it is so far available in English only. After this event, we will send you the very detailed and comprehensive report regarding the pilot project implementation, and you'll be able to see the details. I would like to also underline here that presently on the screen, you can see two references, two links downstairs, which are related to the Selfie resources. One is the European Commission's website. It is much more comprehensive regarding the projects and tools available. And the other one is the right resource where you can get registered, pass the surveys and questionnaires filled. There's also one thing that I'd like to mention on the next slide regarding some of the useful resources here in Ukraine. If you just enter Selfie in Ukraine, you just Google it, for instance, you will find a lot of information on the Cabinet of Ministers website, also on the Digital Transformation Ministries and on the Education and Science Ministry. There have individual pages fully devoted to Selfie. There are frequently asked questions. There's detailed information for the regions who will get engaged into the project. All that information is at your hands and at your disposal. If you take each and every school, they have written about their own progress and their success stories of participating in the project. We've seen some information from the VET methodological centers, also the regional educational departments. So there's a lot of information that can be of great use for you. Also, to support our coordinators, like we already talked, we've been talking about the regional coverage, how we have been selecting and vetting those schools for participation. We're trying to make sure this is an opportunity for every region, in Lviv and Zaporizhia and the others. We wanted to have diverse schools, different in terms of the number of students, different in terms of their progress in the digital form. We had the methodology that we were using, and you can read about it in our report. This is exactly the map of our coverage through the pilot project that you can see on the slide. I'm not going to be talking about quantitative indicators. You've heard some of the information, and Arthur, the deputy minister, already mentioned this, and Alessandro alluded to this. But we have quite a substantial coverage, not only in terms of territories, but also in terms of the number of participants. If you want to take a look at the number of students at different grades, we even had primary school children there. Most of all, this was the middle school and a small number of senior students, because this was just the end of the school year and children were just getting ready for their final exams. So we were not engaging senior students that much. But I would like to actually underline here that each and every school, when doing the questionnaire, and it is done actually 3 times every year through the school year. It's done in the fall, then in the winter, and then it's done again in spring. So this survey is really fast. I mean, it took us just 3 weeks to do one. And for each and every participant, it's just going to take 20 to 30 minutes. I mean, it's just an easy to use tool and a very comprehensive one. It's a very clear one. There are 4 different categories of those individuals surveyed from the secondary education. I mean, those are leaders, teachers, and children. But at the vet schools and vet centers, and also in-service teacher training institutions, we add more categories. Those are representatives of the institutions and organizations where students are trained on a vocational basis or trained in the in-service manner. This is all just statistic. You can see the results of the pilot project in secondary education and vocational education and training. I'm just going to speed up because the time is running away. You can read all that in the report, so it's going to be available to you. What Alessandro just mentioned, we had a very detailed plan. Our working group had created a working sorry, somebody's talking at a time. We had the action plan. Sorry, yes, I can hear voices.
Switch on the mic. Вимкніть мікрофони, будь ласка, вас чутно. Дякую. До цього плану мали доступ, це онлайн. So as we developed the plan, it was available online, so it could be accessed not only by the organizers of the pilot project, but also representatives of the both ministries and other stakeholders who were engaged in the project implementation, like the Institute of Educational Analytics, etc. So we were on the same page and we could rapidly share the information. We were translating a lot of materials, preparing information for websites. We were translating the handbook for the school coordinators. So all that is available step by step. It is all ready for sharing, all ready for implementation. We even have guidelines for the action plans that can be used by those schools who will decide to start implementing Selfie at their institutions. After this, we actually had a question. Once we've done the survey, which was quite fast, and as we received the findings, each and every school received the report with the results in 2 formats. There is a PDR format and there is an interactive one as well. The interactive format actually allowed filtering different issues through categories by the digital progress areas. There is a lot of information in there. So in order to read the reports correctly and in order to get as much information as possible from those interactive reports, we did master classes for school coordinators and school principals who had been participating in the pilot project implementation. Those are great coordinators you can see on the screen here. They were the ones who have embodied this project. Without them, we wouldn't make it happen. In each and every region, we had one coordinator. So after we've read the reports, we saw that we would additionally need to have to build a bridge from words to real action, like Nicoletta mentioned. So we received so great results and reports after. But with great reports and great results, you can never change anything in real life because you need the action plan. It should be implementable. So we've done this work together with the Education Analytics Institute. So you have seen that the desire to get a comprehensive and objective self-assessment of the current digital condition at school was the most popular answer. It ranked 97, so which composed like
more than 80% of all. Also, some of the schools wanted to get our digital reward, reward for their digital transformation. There were a lot of encouragements and motivations why schools want to participate, but the most important one is to really get the report as a result of the survey. And the survey consists of eight different areas. That's how actually the process is handled at the institutional level. You first read the handbook or manual. I'm sorry for rushing too much, because I just want to keep up with the time. But the most important thing, once we receive the reports, here are the digital areas that we have covered. It's not only about infrastructure, as you can see. We have the statistical forms that are filled out every year by each and every school. This is about infrastructure, what kind of internet speed they have, what kind of equipment they're using. But digital transformation is not only about infrastructure. Okay, this is the basis, this is a foundation, but this is not it. We also need to look at how effectively all that hardware is used. What are the training methods? Where do they use digital technology for assessment of competencies and knowledge of students? Do they have digital assessment at all, or they don't? How they build their competences, digital and non-digital, among students, and how actually leadership is fostered, how those processes are managed. Do they have digital transformation plans or strategies at schools? Is there a strategic action plan over there or not? So this is a holistic and a comprehensive approach that allows each and every school to receive a report covering all the areas, and it is fully and in line with the existing digitally competent organization framework. You know, there's digital competence framework, digital education competence framework. This has been provided by the European Commission, and you can see so many areas included in there. Altogether, there are 15 sub areas and 90 plus indicators where you can track and assess the current digital status at any organization, including schools. This only applies to educational institutions and establishments. So this framework was taken as the basis for Selfie.
Добре. І від того ви бачите наразі це один.
And here you can see this is just a snapshot to demonstrate the report that I decided to pick for you to see what kind of highest aggregate data indicators available, which are good and which are missing or poor. So we know what to work for and what to work on at both the national and the regional level. You can see the number of points, the score points here. And we've analyzed 20,000 plus participants. These are the efforts, for instance, for vocational training. There are postgraduate institutions and in-service teacher training institutions. So you can see the big diversity of trainings that exist right now. So this entire country is pushing and trying hard to do everything possible to facilitate the teachers and for them to be much easier in the use of digital technology, especially during the pandemic, during the crisis. If you take the poorest indicators here, on the right-hand side, the report has shown not only the technical capability, but the capability in students. So from the reports, we've seen that there is a substantial number of families there are families with many children who cannot effectively take part in this process because they don't have devices, they don't have gadgets. So we need to think not only at the institution level, but we need to think about this as a possible social initiative that has to be implemented. because there are poor families and families with multiple children. They cannot afford, for instance, buying devices. So those can be rented. There are many options here. I'm not going to be discussing this at this point. But this is still a question mark. There are some poor performance indicators that we've seen in the online libraries and repositories. There are poor performance indicators in digital assessment and the assessment with the use of digital technology, competency assessment. So we're not discussing this right now, but I just wanted to demonstrate to you on this example that there's so much analytics that has to be processed, and we can see the trends that we can think about together and help schools resolve those issues at a later stage, hopefully with the support of the central government and regional governments.
Коли ми проводили хакатон, я хочу прийти.
When we did the hackathon, I'm just about to close my presentation. We were thinking about how to move to action. During the hackathon, we were trying to actually find solutions because this is a selfie hackathon which was intended for it. Why we decided to have it? We've done the master classes, we've received a lot of results. Everything's great, but then we saw that a very insignificant number of schools really tried and started moving from the analysis to action. That's why we decided to have this hackathon to be able to talk together, and each and every school had to select one single area. So we therefore had seen how we can break a big elephant into smaller pieces, how to actually crush this big problem into smaller ones to then be able to suggest solutions. And then during the hackathon, we had an idea to create a template or a digital transformation plan, draft plan, let's say, that could be used for different schools. But when we started developing it, we've seen a problem again. We saw the problem again because sometimes we do not set clear KPIs. We cannot define those KPIs in different dimensions. But Selfie, however, provides you with a reliable structure, not only for the analysis, but also you have an understanding how to move forward and progress in implementing digital solutions. And this is a great thing. Right now, there is a plan available. It's going to be worked on in the breakout rooms by the working groups. But further on, after this event today, we will disseminate two documents with you. It's going to be the translation of the report. It's going to be 68 pages, something like this. That's a lot of translation. But you're going to have the recommendations for further implementation of those. There's going to be another document, which is the draft digital transformation plan for each and every school, but as a recommendation to you to make sure those strategic plans to be heard, you need to do that at the regional level at least, because they have to be coordinated in terms of structure with the regional ones in compliance with the national plan. And then it's going to be working like a Swiss watch. You can actually read that while I'm talking, because I'm not going to be able to read everything for the sake of time. While we were working on those digital transformation plans, we've seen that not everything can be solved at the institutional level only. Of course, there should be effort from the leadership, local and regional governments. But we need to have the repository of all those plans as aggregate data for every voice of every school to be heard, because this is the voice of the teachers, of the principal, of the leadership, and the students, who, of course, will be reporting their problems and also suggesting their needs. We're going to have an opportunity to have a more profound discussion about this during the plenary session, which I'm going to be moderating. So thank you very much for your attention. You can actually write your questions or comments in the chat. regarding the implementations for further recommendations, you will find them in the report. We can also discuss those in the plenary. Thank you very much for your attention. Galina, the floor is back to you.
Дякую, пані Тетяна.
Thank you, Tatiana. Without any further ado, let us move to our breakout groups. So you're going to see the slide how we're going to be splitting. But don't worry, we have prepared those breakout rooms in full accordance with the different schools, different educational establishments. So the split process will be automatic. If you find yourself in a wrong group, or if you find yourself still in the plenary, please write a message in the chat. You can see right now how we're going to be working. And don't worry, please, because our technical assistants will now take you to your groups. One more important logistical remark, please stay online. If you disconnect from Zoom, then you'll be automatically back to the plenary. So if that happened, don't worry, get connected back again and type your message in the chat for the technical support to see that. All right, so since these breakout rooms are available, you're going to be there. See you later. We're going to give you 5 minutes for a short break for us to be able to organize everything and break you down in a good sense. See you once again in 45 minutes. Oh, sorry, 5 minutes, probably.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Так, 5 хвилин у нас на...
Yes, indeed. I'm sorry to apologize. We're going to have 5 minutes just for a short coffee or tea break. And then the working group will be 45 minutes. We're going to have a moderated discussion. We have the moderator in each and every room available. So please, if you are not there, you're not in your room, or you're in the wrong one, report that to the chat, and then the technical team will make sure everything's fine with you. Regarding the plenary, we're going to continue our discussion in both English and Ukrainian. And we're going to be talking about selfie integration in Ukraine and a further implementation of it. What were the lessons learned and what were the challenges? Thank you.
Шановні колеги, вітаю вас.
Dear colleagues, good afternoon once again.
Зараз ще буквально хвилиночку ми переносимо ті, хто пишуть у чат, учасників до їх груп.
We're just going to hang on for just a minute to take all the people who want to their rooms. Thank you very much. Let us spend another 2 or 3 minutes and then we're going to reconvene and start again.
Колеги, я хочу пояснити, якщо
Dear colleagues, I would like to just explain to you if here at the panel discussion first, we only need representatives of departments of education at the regional and local level, and also the leaders from those institutions from those groups. If you want to actually listen to the plenary and the groups, then one of you can stay here from your institution and the other one can go to the groups. Well, we have leaders of the VET centers, the VET methodological centers, and now we're going to be working on and discussing the future of Selfie implementation in vocational education and training. So I would suggest to start already, if you don't mind. Galina,
Так, скажіть, будь ласка, це я думаю, що це пленарному засіданні було.
is this a plenary? Was this message to the plenary? No, it was.
Так, мене звати Ірина Шумик, добрий день, я модератор 4-ї групи, можливо, мене тоді
I'm
не
the
туди.
group 4 moderator. Maybe I'm in the wrong place.
Будь ласка, Анна,
Anna, please,
зверніть увагу,
if you can fix that.
модератор групи 4.
We have group 4 moderator staying in the plenary. Irina Shumik should be in group 4.
Але тут ще мої колеги, я бачу в цьому.
But there are more colleagues here on this chat, so please check because there are many representatives from the VET methodological centers. Interesting.
Якщо можна, будь ласка, напишіть в чаті.
Well, if possible, you can actually write in the chat about the group you want to be in so that we can faster move you there.
Це завдання. Да.
Well, there are all the lists, so group 4 should be in breakout room 4. Those are 40 participants. So it's going to be difficult if everybody starts typing and moving everyone individually. The lists are available with the organizers. Okay, let's start.
Let's start. Пані Ірина, ви вже, сподіваюся, не з
Irina,
нами.
hopefully you're no longer with us since she's no answering. She's probably gone.
Все, нормально, так?
Okay, right.
Добре. Чи можемо ми...
Can we...
У нас 34 учасники.
Okay, we have 34 participants remaining here in the plenary room. And I would like now to explain what's going to be happening right now in this session. Because right after the plenary, we're going to have other colleagues come back. We will have the wrap up and closing session. We're going to give closing remarks. the floor for the closing remarks to our panelists. Regarding the plenary discussion, I believe it is recorded and it's going to be available online for those leaders who have not participated in this meeting. They can watch it later. So we are starting or moving from the pilot project implementation to the project implementation all across Ukraine. And this is a great opportunity for us to discuss this with JRC representatives, the developers and the owners of the tool. This is Nicoletta Gianozzo, who is with us today. You can ask her questions. We also have here with us Alessandro Brolpito, Senior Specialist on Digital Skills and Learning from EDF. So this is another organization which is implementing this project in 82 different countries around the world. So you can ask yourself a question, oh, wow, so many. This is indeed a unique opportunity to talk to these people. We're not going to have Dmytro Zavgorodny because he had another meeting scheduled for this time, but we're going to have the deputy head of the Department of Education in Lviv. They've done a good job there in the regional level. And we have Anna Tereshenko, deputy director of the educational analytics at the Ministry of Education and Science. They were also involved in the survey, so we will be able to discuss statistical and analytical data for Ukraine. And also, hopefully, we're gonna have Ludmila Chernikova, who is the moderator of one of the groups here, because she represents the in-service teacher training institution in Zaporizhia, but she has to come back from her breakout room really briefly to be able to tell about their unique experience, how they built in Selfie into their in-service teacher training. So let us begin. And could I have our panelists on the screen? This would be great to see them all. That is just superb. Thank you, Nicoletta, Alessandro. Nice to see you. Elena Bech is again with us. Glad to see you on behalf of the European Training Foundation. So everything's great. Dear all, everybody here is encouraged to active listening. Active listening is when you listen and you think and ask your questions in the chat. So you can always use the chat whenever you want for us to be able to hear you and answer this question to our panelists. So the floor goes first to Mr. Alessandro. When I was about to finish my presentation beforehand, I told that we would need support for schools after they have received their reports from regional government bodies. That's why this question goes to you. How those regional education departments can help schools in implementing their plans.
Thank you for your question. And of course, as Tatiana was making, I really encourage, this is a moment of discussion to some extent to relax and really reflect on what we have done together and how we could move ahead already in this academic year. According to the new reforms in Ukraine in education, the idea is to have a more decentralized approach with regional authorities playing an important role in the implementation, in the delivery of education and training. So it's a very good question. This is a very critical aspect that we have to further develop as a result of the pilot. We understood that this is necessary, is important. So I think we have two options here, Tatiana, to answer to your question. What we understood from the hackathon that in the end, okay, it's very important that the peer learning among schools that really share experience, practices, also in the developing the action plan. So at a regional level, I think it's very, very important that to some extent they have an overview on the ambitions, on the challenges of the school. So they should have capacity to look at the action plans, what the schools intend to do. And so we need to have a database and a way to really aggregate the data, understand. And this is at the very end of the story. But this is the most important one, because this is what you say, you do the snapshot of your school. And then at a certain moment, you define how you want to improve your school, perhaps setting one priority, and then basically you define the actions to do. And this is, to me, the part where the regional authorities can play an important role. Another opportunity could be to have aggregate data also at regional level. This is something that I hope very much we can learn from European countries' experience as well. I mean, we understood that Spain is doing this kind of activities. So again, we need really to, we have two dimensions to really reinforce for the regional dimension. One is the active involvement of regional authorities in put into action the Selfie reports, and on the other hand, to provide also evidence to the regional authorities. So what is a form of anonymized aggregate data, in a way that they can guide the schools in the region. So in the end, we have to look when is the best to connect the regional authorities in the Selfie project. This is something that we need to discuss and understand perhaps from the audience. Over to you, Tatiana.
Дякую, Alessandro.
Thank you, Alessandro. We're going to have an opportunity to talk to the representatives of the regional government authorities. We have Oleg Paska with us. We're going to come back to this issue a bit later, but I had another question. We in Ukraine have an issue with schools, actually. There are two problems. Reading, how to read the report properly and understand it, and also how to use it, how to make those words actionable. Maybe there is some other practice that can be borrowed for Ukraine. What works best from your own experience in implementing similar things in other countries? How to move from words to strategic planning and implementation?
Is it for me or for Nicoletta or Olena?
До вас, поки що до вас.
So far, everything's to you, Alessandro.
Okay, the Selfie School coordinators is the orchestrator of the project. So I think it's very important in this academic year, 2021-2022, really to think about to training initiative for Selfie School coordinators. Because you are mentioning, Tatiana, how to put into action, how to understand, how to analyze. But actually, it's also very important, as Dimitro was mentioning in his intervention, that we explain how to tailor the questionnaire to the specific ambitious sector in case of that school is operating. So it's very important to design who should be involved in terms of teachers, students, and of course the leaders in the schools, to define the questionnaire. What question do we want to put? For example, if I understood correct, Ukraine is in a yellow state. So there are a set of optional questions on blended learning. I would really encourage to make use of these questions because we still have classes online. Perhaps some students are online, other in the classroom. So you have to provide a hybrid solution. So we need to self-reflection. It's as Dimitro was mentioning again, is an opportunity to really self-reflect our approach as human being. If we are not observed, but we are self-reflecting, we are more positive and we have a more positive attitude to change, to be self-critical as well. So for me, it's important to put into action the report analysis, but also to design and we have a very good guidelines from the Commission in this respect. So it's a matter that the Selfie school coordinator has to be very well prepared and should be someone that should be formalized in the education reform. An ICT coordinator, it's fundamental. We can't give up to this role anymore in the post-COVID. And the other point, of course, it's a really huge the data available. There are different comparative view between what the students, the teachers, and the school leader are saying. We need to really support, and the regional authorities could really do a lot in order to make a good understanding. But in the spirit of Selfie, I would say it's very important to foster the peer learning about school. When we learn from a colleague, we are much more open to really say, I don't know how to do it. That is important. So it's really important that we support and give hints on how to read, especially when you share. We have to, for a concrete example, and then I would stop because I think colleagues could really provide many good hints on top of mine. But I would really give instructions on how to present online the report, not the PDF. We can distribute the PDF, but then we need to really share the dynamic report. So I would make a class for the Selfie school coordinator in my region in order how to present this. And then, of course, we make the hackathon. The hackathon should be a regional level, in my view, according. So, but I would pass the floor really to the colleagues as well. Thank you, Tatiana, for your questions.
Thank you for your answers. This idea is quite new, actually. We could actually develop a recommendation or recommendations regarding how to read and understand the reports. We've done the master classes, but we haven't yet developed the recommendations. Thank you for this idea. And maybe Olena Beck could actually tell us a bit more about this. And just a very brief thing that I wanted to mention. You have seen how Selfie has been implementing in so many different countries around the globe. But is there anything that you could tell us about regarding how the Ukrainian pilot project was different from those in the other countries? And maybe there are some of the lessons learned that we could actually, that you could share and we could borrow. Thank you. I just wanted to say that with regards to what happened in Ukraine, is very difficult to overestimate, because this is a really unique moment when we are talking that this is a new window of opportunities that opens. I do believe it's just very true. It happens normally when there is the will from everybody for change. We can have seen the goodwill from all the tiers of government, regional, national, and local. We've seen the support, and that's why it's been so successful. So we need to support this goodwill. For this, we also need to have competences and skills. We need to help people clearly understand this issue. We need to understand what those people are telling us and the data that they share with us. And then after, we can make conclusions and design our plan of action for the future. But we need to also be mindful of what the steps will be taken into consideration. What's the methodology that is going to be used for implementation? What's the methodology for monitoring progress? This is kind of umbrella process, which is digital transformation. There is big will for digital transformation virtually in all the sectors in Ukraine right now. And this kind of, spontaneous creative activity and a big desire from all was very important for the success of it. Now we need to take a strategic look at it. What this situation has brought us to. Where are we finding ourselves right now with the progress that we have achieved so far? And also think about where we have to be moving forward in the future, because each person is able to learn only based of his or her understanding of the present and understanding of the future, potentially. So I believe digital competencies that you are now working on collectively in the entire education, this is exactly to create the opportunity to develop yourself in line with your views, aspirations, desires, and maybe even dreams. We need to create the ecosystem that each and everyone will be helped with. In the countries we have been working across, depending on the strategy, depending on the digital policy pursued in each and every country, the approach can be either top-down or down to top. In the Ukrainian context, we have a movement towards each other. So Selfie works just as a hook. Those people who know who go fishing. So it works like a hook. You can actually catch the fish with the right bait, and the bait is already available. At the same time, Selfie will not allow you to extrapolate conclusions. It's only the evidence-based tool. Since it is done voluntarily, we could actually have a reliable foundation to build our policies in the future. But at the same time, however, it allows you to see the trends and the ways to move forward. So right now, I believe this is a good time and a good point for us to develop some other tools together and help the Ukrainian government, or help the Ukrainian government to develop them, following certain guidelines, methodology, and available data to then develop public policies, both central and regional, and also then after to effectively monitor everything to see where the resources were spent for. Sorry for taking a lot of your time. Thank you. I think those are preconditions for Selfie implementation, and this is now a unique time because there are great reforms are in the way. There is support from both ministries at the national level as well, from the whole of the state. So thank you very much for the opinion that you have shared. And finally, the question to Nicoletta, because Nicoletta represents the Joint Research Center, and she is a project manager. She has spent a lot of time to develop this project and implement it in Ukraine. So Nicoletta, my question is the following one. How do you plan to develop Selfie as a tool? What's going to happen in the nearest future? Can you share?
Yes, Tatiana, thank you very much. I can share some future developments, and I would like first to connect to what has been told already, because the challenges we had to face in Ukraine, and I think what we did was innovative, and it was tried for first time in Ukraine, the data masterclass and the hackathon. These were ideas we have been discussing and developing, but with your help and the role of ETF, these were actually tried. And we saw, I think the results were excellent, because for the first time of the pilots, we had actual action plans. And I think this was the focus of our work in JRC, and we continue. One thing I would like to put on the table as well, and it has been mentioned, but Selfie is such an example, is the importance of collaboration. Selfie is not just a product of JRC, it's a product of collaboration between JRC and DGAC, which is today represented by Nair, and also European Training Foundation, and other national coordinators as well. For example, what happened in Ukraine fits back to the development of Selfie. So what we are planning to do, we're working towards several actions. We're interested, number one, in supporting ministries and regional governments in using Selfie in a way which is meaningful for them, without undermining the essence of Selfie, of being a self-reflection tool. Olena mentioned before, and I think it was mentioned earlier, that some of the Selfie questions might be collect like objective opinions. Like, for example, if you have five computers in your school, there is not a very high chance that you will have different, opinions over this. Might happen, but that's an objective thing. However, there are questions in Selfie where, and I think these are valuable as well because they give us the context and information, and it's always a basis for discussion to see the different opinions. So we would like to identify these questions which can be valuable for regional governments and ministries, and then propose it to them. We have been trying very hard with DG Ag, and I think we managed to provide not only aggregated data, but also raw data. However, they will be anonymized because it's important, and you all know it, that the schools are not identified, because then and I was very pleased to hear from the representatives of the ministries that they understand the essence of the self-reflection, that the school engage in this exercise without feeling that somebody is going to use this to rate it or to have implications, because this is part of a development process. And this is something we want to emphasize and support very much. So that's the second thing. Another thing we're working on is that we're trying to see how networks of schools can be supported, so that we support this peer learning that it was mentioned before. And this will help a lot because it will create a model of sustainable support. Now, the ministry and you, Tatiana, ETF, us, have put a lot of effort in supporting the schools in this process. Now we are working towards a direction in creating, let's say, a structure where we will be able to withdraw a little bit the support and give power to the stakeholders which are actually involved, so that this method of support is sustainable. So that's the second line of research. And as I said before, and this is something we plan to start working on, and this includes Portugal, because as I said, Portugal involved a large number of schools last year. Alessandro mentioned the importance on following up on the implementation. And I think we can coordinate with the work that has been done in Ukraine, if there is interest, to see how we can support schools in the implementation phase. Because now in Ukraine, I'm using this example, everybody has invested a lot of time. The ministry, you, EDF, us, the schools, and the schools, I mean, that's the most challenging thing, because they did not have time, and they gave from the time they did not have. They have overworked. So they have reached into a point that now they are to implement and see something happening in their schools. So here, and our plan is to work with you, if there is an interest, to see how we can support schools to implement their plans and what their needs are, and what kind of support they might need from the regional governments. I think we're discussing about the action plans, and you mentioned that the schools were going like their objectives were like low, because they said this is not something we can do, this is something that the regional government would do. So this is important information that we need to know, and we plan in collaboration with you to try and find a way to do this. I don't know if sort of this makes sense.
Tatiana, if I may add, so I see two levels of intervention connecting to what Nicoletta I saw. One in the burning question that I was answering. One strategic action is about ensuring that schools that are willing to use Selfie can do it. So we need a key action with an action plan with key actions about how to ensure that this is open and available, and that there is a minimum support. Then there is the second strategic action is about the further development of Selfie to better fit specific needs of Ukraine, but which are actually not only for Ukraine, it could be for Portugal, could be for Spain, and we might have a partnership, let's say, in a way, because we need to bring intelligence on this and see in concrete terms how we can better mobilize and put into actions. So to develop a methodological development, I would say. That is something that we need to do it together based on what we understood during the pilots, road testing the tool, receiving the feedback from the regions and from the schools. So there are these two main strategic activities that we should undertake, let's say, also with our support. Over to you, Tatiana.
Дякую. По-перше, дякую. Thank you so much. Thank you. ever so much for this kind of international context, because we need to be able to see how our efforts are in line with the international trends and selfie developments elsewhere. So thank you very much for this panel discussion. And let us move to the regional level regarding how this tool can be implemented down in the regions. Thank you. And I'm inviting now Ludmila Chernikova and Oleg Paska. These are our two pilot schools, if I'm not mistaken. These are two pilot regions, beg your pardon. And each of those two regions, they have their own story to share about the implementation. If you don't mind, I'm going to give the floor to Ludmila because she has to come back from go back to her room again. Thank you very much, Ludmila, for this outstanding opportunity to talk to you. Ludmila is a vice rector of the in-service teacher training institution in Zaporizhia, and she has been the selfie coordinator in the region. Ludmila, please, the floor is yours. And just a brief question. How do you envisage the selfie's role after this preparation process? And what has this project given to you in this region? Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I want to welcome you here in this very important and interesting event. I should say the selfie tool has been so timely for our region. I'm going to explain to you why. Our in-service teacher training institution, it's a postgraduate institution. Since 2008, I believe, has started to find more information about how to make education more digital. And we then had developed our own regional model, which helped schools assess their digital transformation degree, so to say. And we've been doing this work in the last 5 to 7 years in line. And therefore, we were trying to monitor how those schools have been developing according to certain criteria. What I'd like to mention here, when I saw Selfie, and I just realized that all those criteria that we had developed previously, they were very much in line with what we had already. In 2019 and 2020, together with Tatiana, we were trying to actually test and try to measure the digital readiness index. And we were trying to actually implement that ourselves. And once Selfie became available in Ukraine, there was no doubt whatsoever. We realized, okay, yes, this is a very good continuity with regards to what we had been doing before. So we rapidly organized this work together. We have put together 30 different schools. However, we had a very huge demand, many more than we could actually manage. So therefore, we organized this work, and then we did a bit of analysis. So for now, what I can see as a result of this pilot project implementation, and like Tatiana asked, why would an in-service teacher training institution need that? First of all, we've seen the findings across different schools. We therefore can put those outcomes and findings together and see what are the prospects for in-service training? What are the special subjects they need to learn? Maybe there's something on leadership that's needed. Maybe say creating a safe environment. Maybe there's something about digital. Maybe there's something else. And those things can be set up as priorities for our own plan. We can arrange special courses on the number of topics. We can send more people, more teachers, more school leaders to our institution. I myself delivered the IT course for school leaders. And in the last couple of years, we've been trying to monitor how digital transformation has been happening across the schools. We task those school leaders, we have discussions together, and then little by little, we raise their awareness and raise their digital competence level. So for our institution, that's only one piece of the pie. And apart from that, we could tell you definitely that at the regional level, there is a possibility to track challenging issues, where we should focus, where to invest more money. There are subventions from the national government, from the central budget, which we can use. Whether we need to procure STEM labs or interactive whiteboards, or we need to procure more laptops for teachers, or maybe we should do something else for students. So this is a really, really strong tool when we have such a strong analytical work and the findings together. But I have a big wish that I would like to express, and there is something I want to ask you for, to see the results across the regions. We have seen the results across the schools. We can see that at the national level. There's like a snapshot picture, while we cannot see and compare our performance versus Lviv or Kiev or other regions. So we would like to have aggregate data by regions, just to make them comparable. That would help us a lot from the standpoint of decision making and maybe building certain strategic plans together, peer-to-peer learning, etc. Thank you very much, Ludmila. I know you have to come back to your room, to your postgraduates. Thank you very much for dedicating some time for our discussion as well. And thanks very much for sharing. I'm sure we're going to be working together in the future, and we're going to see how we could improve Selfie specifically for in-service training purposes. Now we are moving back to Zaporizhia. That's the eastern part of Ukraine. Sorry, we're moving from east to the west. Oleg Paska. He's a director of the education department in Lviv State Administration. Mr. Paska, what you have done has been a real miracle for me, because you'd had your own projects already. You'd had your initiatives previously, and you still managed to incorporate Selfie in your existing agenda. That I think it finally improved what you had been doing before, and you have made Selfie even more efficient to you. How did you make it happen? Please share it. Share this with us. First of all, allow me to say hello to everybody. And secondly, had we known about Selfie before, when we were just developing our strategy for Lviv region, we would have been much more advanced, and we would have made much more amendments to this strategic document. We would fill it with more changes. We were very much motivated by the lockdown. We had to do something about it. And once all the schools went to online learning, we started looking at the practices of using advanced technologies. What are the distant learning skills that are available? We had a very bitter picture. The picture was so bad. So we realized that we had to train our teachers first. And that was exactly part of the amendments to our program. And then life brought to us another things. We saw that every teacher started using different platforms for teaching. Somebody used Zoom, somebody else used Viber, which created real chaos, especially for students. It was a complete mess. So we had to suggest something solid for our teachers to define one and only platform as a one-stop solution. So we started another project. We started rolling out a platform like this throughout the Lviv region, and we covered for the first stage only 100 schools, and then we covered more. So Selfie helped us in the real-time mode to see what kind of issues and challenges we have in our digital development and transformation. With the today's development of telecommunications, the government bodies, departments of education, they in their nature are very bureaucratic and conservative, They are not catching up with the changing environment around them. And we're getting new situations every time. That's why Selfie has become really helpful for us. And what I've been repeating, and many other participants have, that we need to really work closer with regional coordinators That is exactly the emphasis of the importance of it. This will help us respond promptly to whatever situation there is and make changes rapidly that will improve education quality. They will help improve training for teachers. That's why this project has been really, really important for us. And thank you very much for it. And thanks for the opportunity for Lviv to take part of it, to be part of it. Like I said, we've been implementing other projects. These are the projects that help us to digitally manage education. Now, everyone can go to our website. You can see the number of students, number of teachers, what's the total area at school, what the challenges are. So right now for our education department, it's easy because we've become very transparent. So every citizen in the region can go and see all the KPIs, the current situation, the current status, the challenges for each and every individual school. And then decisions can be made down in the communities. They can decide what they can do at the local level. We can decide what has to be done at the local level or regional to improve education quality. Thank you very much again for this opportunity.
Дякую вам, Олег Володимирович.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paska.
Цікаво дізнатися, у вас є платформа, наскільки я знаю.
But you said something about the platform that you decided to implement. Is that realistic? In case every school is developing action plan, can they use that platform that you have designed to actually display their needs and quickly respond to them? If they, for instance, feed the information into the platform, can the platform do something like this for you? We're just launching this platform, but this is just an experiment so far. We just want to see, as a pilot project, we just want to see the advantages, disadvantages. If we succeed, and I'm sure we do, then we will, of course, reach out to more institutions, and then we're going to have the full picture in the real time. That's our ambitious plan, and we continuously work on it and do everything for this to happen. That is super. And here's one more question regarding the format and digital transformation plan. Like in the previous sessions we were discussing, it is very important that the digital transformation plan at schools and those regional ones to be matching together, to be in line so that there is cohesion, so it works like one solid mechanism to improve digital transformation. Could you be invited and engaged in adapting this plan for the Ukrainian schools so that we can make this marriage between the local level and the regional one as well, so that we are moving on the same direction and we're on the same page? I'm sure if we want to achieve substantial and sustainable results, that's the only way to do that. It is crucially important to communicate, and the communication needs to be very active. Without communication, we're not going to move anything forward. I'm sure we just must work together. Hopefully, we will cooperate with you productively in the future. We are not finishing at this point. The project will continue, and it will be actually disseminated even more, even in your region. 30 is not enough. Your region is the size of Estonia. This is like a country. So we have 1,153 schools. Wow, that's incredible. It's a lot of work for us in the future. Thank you for what you've done already. Hopefully, we're going to be upscaling this work in the future together. Thank you so much as well. Many thanks. Well, if you want to stay here, you stay here. We understand you're busy. Maybe your schedule is tight. So right now, I'm suggesting that we're moving to the vocational education and training. I'd like to ask Mr. Reshenko, Deputy Head of Department for the Education Analytics at the Ministry of Education and Science. Your institute has done a lot in analyzing the efficiency of the pilot project implementation. So we have developed together the questionnaire or the feedback form. So those who already passed the survey provided us with a lot of information, which was so much good as food for thinking regarding how we can improve the implementation process in Ukraine. So here's my question. What is your vision about the future of this project? Are you still motivated? Are you encouraged? What's the view that people mostly share about this tool and its implementation? Was there any buy-in? What was the perception at the beginning and as a result? Thank you for this given opportunity to take part in today's event. I'd like to welcome everybody and congratulate you. Here's the colleague of mine, Valentina Tkachenko, who was directly involved in the analysis. She's done the questions. And we were trying to organize the analysis, the analytical process, given the findings we had. I should say this selfie was perceived by our community as like, like many like many leaders at schools, that it's a real motivator. They just wanted to get this kind of comprehensive assessment of their own institution. So more than 80% shared the same priority. Others thought it would be something about innovation, that's something brand new, and more than 70% of leaders, they perceived it as the tool that allows getting objective results to move forward in the future. However, some of the results are quite ambiguous. With regards to teachers and students' views, some 20%-ish. For them, this interface was difficult to use. Some of them could not understand what they should do. It was difficult, but the vast majority had a very good buy-in. I mean, they had positive feedback. Unfortunately, only from those surveyed, as much as 10% are ready to use this tool in the future. Did you say 10? Yes, I did. 10% of leaders, what I mean by this is that they are ready to include that as part of their development program, to add this component. But from what I heard today, and because we were doing this survey in May, so more than 6 months have passed. So I'm sure there is much better buy-in and much better perception of the selfie tool for the future development at schools. Let me, well, for analysis, I'm sure this is a great tool and for the future development as well, especially in the course of implementing reforms. Today, there is the approved vision, or they call it a concept paper for digital transformation of competencies in Ukraine, and presently they are preparing the digital transformation strategy specifically for education and science between till 2024. So it is very important to get this data and use it. And of course, it's not a one-off exercise. This should be done on a regular basis. And then we're going to build up our understanding regarding the pace of the reforms, its specific nature, what's working, what's not. This will be very important for our ministry to be understanding how we are moving forward and what adjustments are needed. I think from the standpoint of analysis, it's going to be a very, very handy tool. Thank you. Any other questions? Do you have any? Thank you very much, Ganna. I just wanted to actually share my comment. I remember your report. I know it almost by heart. Out of 67, I think, principals, only 3 had said they're not planning to. I don't think this is 10%. We need to come back to the report. The three of them mentioned they never want to implement this tool, but then we were trying to find out this information to see why they didn't want to. But I'm going to tell a bit later about this. And the rest of the remainder said, yes, we're ready. Some of those three said, we don't have time, we can catch up with our difficulties, we're trying to sort things, and this is another thing for us to do, which creates a backlog. So we had even answers. Unfortunately, we don't have time to discuss them all, but students had much worse outcomes than principals, because students might not understand this was a strategic tool, while principals, they did understand it. They could understand the use of that and the positive application of it. And they will see much greater use of that once they have it implemented, because right now this is just a pilot, and once they have it done, I'm sure there's going to be much more good stories to share with the others, so they will keep encouraged. Thank you very much for your analysis, and I'm sure we're going to continue working together. I can see all the other participants coming back to us from all those breakout rooms, so thank you very much, everybody, for our discussion. Yes, indeed. All the participants are coming back right now, as far as I understand. Galina, are you there? Yes, I should confirm all the participants are back, and now we here at the plenary will be doing the closing remarks and a wrap-up session. If Tatiana would like to make a comment about the group work, then please do. Okay, let us do that. Just very quickly, because today we have a very dynamic event. First of all, for the group participants who just come back to us, I want to briefly tell you about what was going on in the plenary session. Well, together with our international partners, together with the representatives of regional governments and institutions, including those in service training ones, we were discussing three major areas of our potential work together in the future. We were thinking about how Selfie can be moved forward in the future and how we can develop this. We were discussing the national and international context. We were thinking about how to best do that at the regional level. We discussed this with the Institute of Education Analytics about how to better use the data for our further analysis, to develop the tool, and develop the decentralization process in Ukraine by fostering and supporting it. I would first of all give the floor to the group moderators one by one, please. So Margaret from Group 1, this is our regional coordinator from Lviv, a unique person indeed who's done so much for the development of Selfie and digital transformation in the region and in the whole country as well. So Margarita, how has it been going? Group 1, please.
Пані Маргарита, ви з нами?
Margarita, are you with us? Can you hear me? Thank you. Yes, indeed. Can you see me? Not yet. We can only hear you. Hi there. I'm glad to hear you and see you. I will quickly make conclusions about what we talked and what we've discussed in our group. We had 49 and then a bit more people, so we were more than 50, but nevertheless, we were quite active. As a result of what we've done, here is the result. First of all, we were trying to analyze what has Selfie done for our schools. Preliminarily, there was a feedback form, and the vast majority of the results have shown that this was the first step to the digital transformation strategy. Overall, the participants evaluated this tool at 4.37 points out of 5. It was just quite a successful KPI, isn't it? One of the strengths was the survey, as it was organized, and the efficient organizational work through the school principals. But the weakest link was lack of skills in trying to formulate questions. And people found it challenging to define the question. It's very important actually to pay attention to this. As a result, the participants who were responding, or respondents, to the question about what could be done different this year, this academic year, the second most popular answer was to add our own questions to the list. 57.7% of students, respondents, while 61.5 believed it would be more important to encourage more students to participate. While we were working in the group in parallel, we did voting about in which sessions this and next year we will do the next survey. So when are we going to do that? So the vast majority of our participants have chosen spring and winter. Most of them want that in spring. And we were working with a draft template, but we also found out that the plan is the way to our goal and way to achieve the results. So the first step will be to build up the team of the like-minded people for them to be working together on the plan. We will seek for, implement, and disseminate some positive practices at stage 3, active engagement of stakeholders from the inside and from the outside. And also number 5 is the possibility to develop our schools on a needs-based scenario. So based on the needs of the students. Thank you very much. Everybody stressed the importance of the tool. Thank you very much, Margarita. That's a great work you've done. Good job. Even before the working group, you've done the questionnaire and you've had a more comprehensive view over the entire situation. Okay, it is my honor and pleasure to pass the floor to another moderator of group 2, Valentina Bondarchuk. This is the group that was represented by VET piloting schools, school coordinators. So how was it, Valentina? Good afternoon, dear colleagues. We've done a very good job together. Our group has been so active and we're so grateful to the project, as well as our Directorate for Professional Education for giving us the opportunity to participate in the pilot. And indeed, 30 professional education, vocational education and training schools have participated at the highest level possible. So today our school has given very positive appreciation and they are so inspired that we're going to do that multiple times, definitely. And it's not going to be just a paper that will be lying on the shelf collecting dust. No, it's going to help everybody here to realize our ambitious goals that we put for ourselves to train highly qualified teachers. What we were missing probably among the weakest links, we want to avoid threats. For us to make this process seamless, we would disagree with Margarita. I'm sure we need to try to add additional questions. We're going to try to learn more about the tool and to make everybody aware to make this process as much efficient as possible for all. And of course, like we were discussing in our group, we need to think about good timing for the survey to engage as many participants as possible, especially students, because our learning process is different from the other schools. So we were trying to actually define the strongest sides of ours. Our strengths. We need to monitor ourselves. We will have to plan more properly, but we were discussing probably the things that are not applicable for other schools regarding the internet infrastructure, the mandate of digital education experts and those responsible ones who will be building and implementing respective digital transformation policies. Of course, we would like to have the national first digital transformation program for schools, then at the regional, then we would have been much more supported in this area. So we are inclined and ready to take steps to be more efficient. We will be working together to develop the criteria for measuring the strategic implementation performance. We will make it comprehensive, holistic, measurable. Smart. We will make it smart. Of course, our professional education will be much better because and thanks to this Selfie tool. Thank you very much. What was the perception of the digital transformation plan that you suggested? There was a very good buy-in because it is based purely on the Selfie findings. So we have discussed each and every area, every dimension. We reached the conclusion that it's very important to have the tailor-made approach and be customized to each and every school, because every school is different, isn't it? So we need to then see after a while what has worked, what hasn't. We need to see a comparable data about where we were more advanced, maybe we were lagging behind somewhere else. So of course we're going to be working on this closely, because the VET methodological center's principals are ready to cooperate with us, and we're going to try to do this plan very ambitious and very efficient at the same time. It is my pleasure to pass the floor to Group 3, Ludmila Chernikova, who managed to participate in the both rooms, in the panel discussion as well as in the group. So you had a very complex task, which is to put together all the in-service teacher training institutions, because you were the regional coordinator and you were the first and foremost institution to have handled the pilot project. What are the main achievements and lessons learned? Dear colleagues, in our group, we had representatives of in-service teacher training institutions who were taking care of digital transformation in education. We had leaders, deputy chiefs, etc. So altogether, we had 26 participants, plus the representative of our institute who were involved in these project implementations Zaporizhia. To summarize the outcomes, we have made our colleagues aware of those issues that we had been facing ourselves when implementing the pilot project. We have given them the detailed modus operandi on how the project should be implemented. And we also introduced some of the experiences of other schools in Zaporizhia and Lviv, and discussed how the project worked in their particular case and at their school. Our colleagues from all across the regions have been doing similar projects or similar, so to say, dimension for quite a long time. They realize the essence of the project, while some of the technical things, of course, will have to be handled in each individual case. What we suggested is to have our colleagues put together from different regions so that our people could deliver a training to them and tell them more about how to have other schools connected, how to do the job, how to analyze the findings, and how to coordinate everything. We have also focused on some of the other specific areas. They are sometimes specific for our in-service teacher training institutions, because we are mostly broken down into two parts. First of all, we train the professionals, I mean teachers, and we also do the guidance to them to contribute to the development of this kind of education in the regions. So these are two domains that we're normally involved in. So of course, this selfie has to be monitored on a regular basis. This is what we all agreed upon. But the question is, however, yes, we need to start it from something. The other regions need to jump in and get connected. And they are lucky because they will already have some of the deliverables from our side, because we already passed this first inception time. Thank you very much for the moderation. And now the floor goes to Irina Shumik. This is a representative or a leader of the VET Methodological Center Directorate. She was moderating Group 4, and those are the newly established VET methodological centers in the country that will be just implementing the same thing. So just a couple of words about what you've done and what the plan is. Thank you very much, Tatiana. I'm so much grateful to the colleagues of mine here who, you only tell them, okay, there's an idea. They right away tell you, okay, we're ready to implement it. So they're incredible, I believe. And you probably know that we found certain schools in certain regions who decided not to wait. And even though they were not part of the group, they came over and they have the results. Probably the most valuable thing is that we were trying to actually find those people who are so much encouraged to do that, even though they're not involved. They also shared some part of their experience. They said, this is so useful, this is so great. But like in every other tool, one needs to clearly and correctly, let me use the marketing language, you need to sell it properly. You know, here's a survey, and do you remember the response from some of the individuals when you say, here's the survey we would like you to fill out? They feel reluctant. They say, okay, another survey. We don't really feel like we want that. But actually, I think that's a good marketing skill will help you do that, help you sell this tool and get the positive outcome and feedback. So we worked on the plan. We introduced some of the information into the plan, but actually, here's what I want to tell you. Everybody supports the idea that this is a very good monitoring tool to actually take a snapshot of the current situation with your digital transformation. And this is not only covering the infrastructure issue, but also it covers many other areas where you can show the challenges regarding the content of education, internal communication, internal collaboration effort, etc. What's needed to actually organize such a monitoring is to have trained people who know how to do that. And we had a big demand, a request from our colleagues, especially to Valentina. Please share your experience. Please share, because we need that. We already have the plan. We already want the webinars, so put us on the plan. Yes, of course, we discussed that it's important to generate a checklist with instructions like a roadmap, you know. And probably the most challenging issue was not about gadgets and computers and all the hardware available, because today this issue is even worse because this is about access to the internet. But there is need to be a proper logistical support from the Department of Education or the ministry or the regional departments, I don't know. Because we're afraid that they tell us, oh, what kind of BS are you doing? This is not something that you're supposed to do. We just want full support from them. And also we need to train good professionals who will be able to organize these processes at schools. And we need to have encouraged faculty, encouraged students, and encouraged principals. We also need to realize the deviations, you know, in the findings. So to say, well, regarding the expectations, I'm sure the outcomes will be put on the strategy. This will help us quickly respond to the needs and challenging issues. But I'm sure the ministry will tell something about this. I'm sure we will get more information from the regional departments. And we will, of course, try to do the instruction workshops. And we're going to try to do the webinars and seminars together. And actually, there was one very good idea when somebody said those Selfie regional coordinators could get, while they're doing the Selfie work, this could be listed as their vocational education and training, because they will have their knowledge greatly improved after this. So we will put that, we'll probably give them a certificate that they passed the course. So it probably equals to that. I want to thank you very much, and each and everyone individually, for your active participation. Thank you very much to all the speakers. Thanks for this outstanding and fabulous discussion together. So we are moving to the wrap-up session right now and closure. So please, I would encourage our speakers to be as prompt as possible, not to keep our participants even longer. Nevertheless, we want everybody to say a few words about this because there's been a lot of very interesting information. So Nair, please, the floor is yours. Nair Carrero Martinez, please.
Hi, yes. Sorry, I couldn't hear. Could you repeat the last part, please?
The floor is yours. You can present. Thank you.
Okay, can I present the forum? Okay, perfect. Okay, well, thank you so much for this very interesting intervention. I've been following of course, the summary, and I think it's really a good job. And we are really happy that this is actually happening, and I've seen that so many people are actually taking part in Selfie. Because we want even more people to take part in Selfie, we were mentioning the numbers already before in the morning, at the very beginning of the event. But we just want to say a few words about this Selfie forum that is coming, which aims, of course, to bring even more people to Selfie, but also to celebrate the over 1,700,000 users that we have achieved so far. So let's take a couple of minutes to talk about the forum, which is happening this year from the 7th to the 8th of October under the theme Empowering Schools for Learning in the Digital Age. This year, Selfie Forum, its aim, its objective is to promote Selfie as a practical and effective tool for the whole school digital planning, as you have been mentioning, to support national and regional digital education policies, and of course to show examples of the positive impact that Selfie can actually have on schools if well planned, as we have seen, and if well supported. This will be an online high-level event where we'll be honored to have Maria Gabriel, the European Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth, opening the event on the first day. And we will also count on the presence of Nicola Schmidt, who is the European Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights, who will be launching the new module, Selfie for Work-Based Learning. You will see in the program, share the link in the chat soon, that it includes keynote speeches, panel discussions, and very practical workshops. But among other things, you can learn how to use Selfie, how to develop your action plan, that we have been talking about this. Alessandra was mentioning this before. Hear about the Erasmus Plus projects, or even discover the figure of the student digital mentors, which I like very much particularly, and the value of involving students in the digital strategy of your school, that we have been also discussing about this. We think this is going to be a great opportunity for everybody to come together, to bring schools, teachers, students, and policymakers to discuss and share ideas on how they're using Selfie to support the digital planning. So from here, we'd like to encourage all of you to register if you haven't done so yet. You can either do so by scanning the QR code here in the screen, or by registering in the link that I'll soon share in the chat. So we hope to see you all there, and looking forward to more Selfie people joining us. Thank you.
Дуже дякую,
Thank you ever so much, Nair. I would like to actually call everybody upon to please to participate in this event, because it is a real, genuine opportunity for our Ukrainian educational establishments to take part in the Selfie Forum. This is an open event for principals, for the school leaders, teachers, and students, and the program, the agenda itself will be very, very interesting. And you're going to learn about the practices of Selfie implementation in other countries. The Ukrainian case will also be presented there, because a hackathon was a very, very innovative practice that others would like to learn about. Obviously, we're going to introduce that as a role model, maybe for the other countries to follow, if they want to, of course. Maybe they want to use that to discuss the results with the other participants of this process. So thanks very much, Nair. And it is my pleasure to pass the floor to Fernando Fonseca from DG NEAR in the European Commission. It's a Ukraine support team. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you very much for inviting me to this event. First of all, congratulations for the lively event and the lively discussions. As you said, I work in the Commission in DG NEAR, and in particular in the support group for Ukraine that have been established more than 6 years ago by the President of the Commission. I would like to be very brief, because we are running late, on what we are doing in the digital area, and especially for education and training. As you know, digital is a big priority for the Commission, and it's a huge priority in the relations between the European Union and Ukraine. We are doing a lot on digital. Ukraine is doing a lot, and congratulations for that. There are a number of initiatives from DigiNear on digital. Some of them, they cover the whole Eastern Partnership countries, the 6 countries, so including Ukraine, and some only for Ukraine. And to give you an idea, even though these initiatives, they don't cover education, I think it's important to know that what we are doing, the EU and DigiNear in particular for digital, cover areas that are, I mean, the backbone, they allow for the remaining work to be done. So we are working on the 5th generation mobile network, so the 5G. We are all working on high-speed internet, digital business, e-commerce solutions. These is more for the economy, but it's also enabling a lot of other things to be done in all other areas. Specifically in Ukraine, we are supporting the DIA platform. We are developing digital services. And of course, last but not least, we are doing a lot in promoting digital literacy. Of course, we all know that the pandemic has showed the need to accelerate the digital transition also in education and training. And here, DigiNear is also doing a number of things. For example, for youth, we have a regional initiative covering the whole of the Eastern Partnership countries for youth, where we have a grant scheme to foster young people's digital skills. We have also a new deal for youth that will include support to modernize or further modernize education and training systems in order to facilitate the transition from young people to the work. Then we have also 2 initiatives bilaterally with Ukraine, so only for Ukraine, not for the whole Eastern Partnership, one in the vocational education and training, and another one in the secondary school education. For the vocational education and training, many of you probably know the EU for Skills, which is a project aiming at modernizing the VET institutions in Ukraine and also to train school managers and teachers in 7 pilot regions of Ukraine. And here, the digitalization has emerged during the implementation of this program. Digitalization has really emerged as a really important cross-cutting issue. And a number of things have already been materialized. For example, there was, in fact, a partnership between the Ministry of Education and Science and Microsoft, and the software, all known to us, Microsoft Office 365, has been distributed free of charge in all regions of Ukraine. And we helped also in this project the use of this software by teachers, by managers in a number of webinars. We have, there are at least 1,000 managers and teachers of 250 VET schools who have participated in these webinars. But more than this, we have also trained 800 VET teachers and managers from 20 pilot schools, and started last July, so just before summer, or already in the summer, we started also a training round for more than 3,000 VET teachers and managers. In the secondary school, we have a small project which is implemented by Finland, but where the EU is also putting funds. It's for the secondary school. It's a support to the new Ukrainian school, but also with a component which probably many of you know, which aims to improve the teaching Ukrainian language as a second language to minorities, to national minorities. And in this project, which even though it's small, it's 8 million euros, we have developed specific training programs to improve the digital competence of teachers. And we have also included in this project distance education teaching tools and pedagogy. This is what we are doing, but we plan more. I cannot go into many details now, but I can tell you that we are planning a new support on digitalization of education and science with the Ministry of Education and Science. We will, with this project that we are now developing, we will support Ukraine in implementing its strategic framework for digitalization of education and science. For sure, there will be technical assistance. There will be a component of training on digital skills for students and teachers, but I cannot go further on because this is still being prepared. And also it will depend on the strategic framework that is being still worked by Ukraine, by the authorities, and that we hope will be will be sent to the cabinet of ministers before the end of the year. Thank you very much.
Дуже дякую, пан.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Mr. Fonseca. You know, you have listed so many great initiatives, and I'm sure that with each initiative, we will need to have a webinar like this, because the support from the European Commission and the European Union in general has been really important for Ukraine. It's really important to foster the reforms and the processes that are underway in digital transformation and reforms in Ukraine. So can't thank you enough. Really, it's been really interesting to know, I'm sure for most of our participants, about all those initiatives and programs that the European Commission is running with Ukraine. And now I would like to show you a little part from Valeria Yonan. It's going to be a short video of hers. And after this, we're going to give the floor to Tatiana Nanaeva, and then we're going to listen to Olena Beck from ETF. And at that point, we're going to close our session with the understanding of the next steps and future plans to implement and continue to implement Selfie in Ukraine. So please enjoy the video. I would like to welcome all the present and participants at this event, and also those watching this event online, with the successful implementation of Selfie project implementation in Ukraine and the beginning of implementing Selfie all across the country. This has been a successful pilot project, both from the standpoint of participants, and we've had more than 20,000 of them out of 96 schools in 10 regions, and from the standpoint of their engagement into the project. The Selfie application in the Ukrainian reality has proven that this is the tool that can be effectively used to analyze the current status and improvement of digital transformation at schools in Ukraine. That's why we upscale and trying to do everything possible to comprehensively implement Selfie in Ukraine. Actually, since today, Selfie will be made available for all the secondary schools. We promised to do that, and we did. I'm calling upon all the institutions and government agencies, including CDTO and VET methodological centers, to coordinate this process and help schools implement Selfie. Most importantly, you need to help implement the digital transformation plans that schools have based on the Selfie reports. And in the end, last but not least, I'd like to express my words of gratitude to those people who daily and weekly have been supporting Selfie in Ukraine. This is Alessandro Brolpito, Lena Bech, Sterzi, and also Nicoletta Gianozzo. I'd like to thank the people who have been supporting Ukraine strategically. This is Fernando Fonseca, responsible for DG NIR. Also, Nair Carrera Martinez from DG EAC for her restless support in our pilot project implementation. Overall, I'd like to thank everybody who have joined us in the successful implementation of Selfie in Ukraine. And namely, I'd like to thank Tatiana Nanaeva, a real inspirer and a leader of this project in Ukraine. This is a unique synergy example. Only together shall we do digital transformation and make it a success story for the country. This was a closing remark from This was just a closing remark from Valeria Ionan, Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation in Ukraine. And it's my pleasure to give the floor to Tatiana Nanaeva for the closing remarks. Please, Tatiana. Dear colleagues, I would like to thank you very much for the participation. We've done something incredible today because we had a very challenging task. We had to work with those who have been with us in the pilot project and those who will be with us in the future. Thanks a lot to our partners from the European Commission, from ETF, JRC. Thanks to each and every one of you for joining the project today. To be continued, please wait until things happen and get engaged. Thank you very much, Tatiana. Olena Bech, please, on behalf of the European Training Foundation. She's in charge of the project for innovative learning.
Unmute, unmute.
Так, вибачте. Так, є.
Так, я почну ще раз. Так?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Так, я маю величезну приємність.
It is my pleasure and honor to express my last remarks in this event. I just want to make some of the emphases and tell you a bit more about the next steps. The first emphasis is the things that you do. I want you to hear this. We discussed this in the plenary and in the groups. I just want everybody to hear that. What you do right now for Ukraine in terms of digital transformation in education, developing the new Ukrainian school, this is an unprecedented reform in a huge country, which puts together so many different stakeholders, managers, parents, children, teachers, civil servants, civil society, and the success has been unprecedented. And in the context of the European Union, it's very visible, I should say. Of course, we realize how much effort it takes to implement all of this. So it is very important to make one single conclusion after the implementation of the pilot project in Ukraine at this scale. This is the ecosystem that will depend on everybody's engagement. It will have to engage so many different actors. Today, you're a part of this ecosystem. It is your duty and your role to be very active. Motivation is another emphasis that I'd like to make. Without motivation, no success is possible. For everybody to feel motivated in the ecosystem on this reform path, you need to give something that others will demand. What we heard from you in the course of the Selfie implementation, and that was part of the hackathon, you need something tangible. You need the data, which has to be disaggregated, like we call it. It has to be accessible across regions, across schools. We've heard that. And you probably heard from our colleagues, including from Nicoletta, that we will find an opportunity to provide you with the data for your analysis of the digital transformation implementation findings. So far, this is based on the Selfie results, and we are still working to help Ukraine out to develop a joint tool to comply with monitoring and evaluation needs that will be of the Ukrainian ownership. Hopefully, we will support from the European Training Foundation and other European institutions, together with JRC, together with the European Commission's delegation and other partners. We hope to support your cooperation at the regional and local levels for it to comply and meet your needs, not only right now, but also in the future. It is very important to have it participatory so that schools more and more get engaged in this process. Hopefully, the next steps will be the development of this tool, which will give an opportunity to plan properly, implement policies, and monitor policies. And we also want to encourage more cooperation by engaging more people. The European Training Foundation is now, within this project that Galina just mentioned, is now trying to build the peer-to-peer learning, which is an innovative tool. And under this project, we're launching, after a couple of weeks, the digital online community for innovative education people. Not for those who are officially called innovative people on their business cards, but no, those who are really willing to build on this, not only in the digital world, but also in other innovations. And of course, this community will help contribute to disseminating successful practices among the education professionals. This will engage more people, and this is going to be really participatory. So definitely, we will share all the links to those resources, which are going to be useful regarding the project. And all those materials will be available through Tatiana and the Selfie project coordinator in Ukraine. Thank you very much. And I was so happy to see so many people that we've been working together with for so many people. Glad to be working with you and hope to work with you in the future as well. Thanks you very much, Elena. So please join this new community of innovators and innovative learning professionals. So I would please encourage you, because we have come to the closure of this event. This is going to take just 1 minute, but can you please fill out the feedback form about this event today? You can find the link in the chat. And meanwhile, I would like to thank all the participants, the organizers, and everyone who have been here with us, those who listen to us online on webcast, those who will be listening to us after the meeting is recorded. So thanks very much to the organizers, thanks to the interpreter, and let us keep working together. We're not stopping at this point. Thank you, everybody. And I'm gonna see you later in the selfie implementation endeavor. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Recording stopped.